Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. If you look into the history of Bible translation, one of the early translators of the Bible into English was a man named William Tyndale. At the time, it was not considered to be a good idea for the common people to be able to read the Bible or to have ready access to it. So, long story short, Tyndale's efforts were resisted, and we will talk about that more in just a moment. He also advocated things like justification by grace through faith and was put on trial for being part of the Lutheran heresy, and eventually was tied to a stake, strangled, and then his body was burned. Now, let's jump back to the resistance to translating the Bible into the common language. As I mentioned, it was thought that it was not a good idea to have the common person to be able to read the Bible, and one of the reasons that was given was because of the hard saying for today. We are in our second week of looking at some hard sayings of Jesus, and our passage today is certainly one of those. During the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5, Jesus said, "If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to go into hell." It was feared in those medieval times that if the common person read that, they might just take it seriously, and to suddenly have a whole lot of people who were blind and without a hand would affect the economy and security of the nation. It's kind of an ironic problem. They didn't want people to read the Bible because they might take it seriously. So what do we do with a passage like that today? Well, like our passage yesterday, scholars believe that this is an example of Jesus using hyperbole. As I mentioned yesterday, hyperbole is an exaggerated statement or claim that is not meant to be taken literally. At a family dinner, one might say, "This is enough food to feed an army." Well, everyone knows that it isn't, but we know too that there's a lot of food. That's hyperbole. Jesus' point here is the seriousness of sin. Sin is so serious that it would be better to pluck out your eye or cut off your hand. Eyes and hands are vital to us, and so no one would think of cutting either away. Nevertheless, Jesus is telling us that we can't be complacent about our sin. We need to be aware of how we have failed God and sincerely try to do better at living God's way. We are far too often exactly that, complacent about our sin. Interestingly enough, we are also a lot more complacent about our own sin than we are about someone else's. We very often excuse ourselves, but not others. Jesus thinks we should take our sin more seriously. As I'm writing this, the Paralympics are underway, and much has been made recently of an archer with no arms who made a bullseye holding the bow and arrow with his feet. That's amazing, but it also brings to mind the Greek word that is often used in the Bible when talking about sin. The word means missing the mark. The idea is as if you are aiming at a target and completely missed it. When you think about it, that's a pretty good description of sin, isn't it? We aim at what God has made us to be, but so often, far too often, we completely miss the mark. Our arrows go as far astray as if we had shot using our feet. With his words of hyperbole, Jesus is urging us to have better aim. The truth is, we are going to miss the mark. But thanks be to God for forgiveness and love. Thanks be to God for grace. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.